start to open this bucket, and I pull the lid off of this thing, and it takes me a second. I pull it off, and I'm looking down in there, and I'm like, what in the world is down there? There's some kind of liquid down in there. Then I'm looking like... Alright, in this video here, I'm going to be listing the top 10 worst things that I have ever gotten out of storage units. Not the top 10 just in general, but these are specifically the top 10 that I myself have gotten out of all the thousands of units that I've bought over the last, over a decade of buying units. I've bought a lot of units, a lot of awesome, great units, a lot of really bad units, everything in between, but you never know when a really awesome, cool treasure is going to pop up. And then you never know when something really gross or just something bad or a whole group of something bad is going to pop up that's just like, man, wish I wouldn't have got this, wish I wouldn't have bought this unit, or even a good unit where something bad pops up in that unit where everything else is good, but just this one item or, whatever just kind of throws the whole thing off. So we're going to start at number 10. So number 10, working all the way down to 1, the closer to 1 we get, the worse it gets to number 1, which will be my personal worst thing I've ever gotten out of a storage unit. A couple of them are going to be very specific, and then a couple are going to be just in general. Number 10 is going to be just kind of a general, and that's when you are going through a unit and you see the box of something really, really nice, really expensive, and you know if that thing is in there that's going to be big money, it's going to be a huge score, and you get the item. A lot of times you will know as soon as you pick it up, because you just pick it up and there's no weight to it, and you can tell it's an item that's supposed to have a little bit of weight to it, and you know that it's empty. You still have that little bit of hope that you might find it in the unit, but it's definitely disappointing. Every now and then it'll kind of trick you, and there'll be some weight to it because the packaging is so heavy, and then you open it up and it's just the packaging, or they put the old item in there or whatever. But getting empty boxes with items that were potentially a big score, that's definitely disappointing. Happens quite a bit, so that's kind of a general, just kind of a bummer thing. Number 9. All right, sofas without the cushions. There was a unit that I got when I very first started buying units, and I was bidding on this unit because there was this very nice brown leather living room set in there, and because I was new to buying it, I wasn't thinking about the cushions. I just saw it and bid, and then I got in there and I'm like, wait a minute, there's no cushions for this thing. I got it for really cheap though. I don't remember exactly what I paid for. There was nobody there. I think I just got it for $10 or something. I was hoping the cushions would be on the other side, but I should have known, if you can't see the cushions, then they're probably not there. But this one actually turned out good. I don't know why these people did it, but I told the lady up in the office, I was like, man, the cushions weren't there for that couch set. And it'd be nice if we could, if the person had the cushions, because the cushions aren't going to do them no good. And she called the lady, and the people actually agreed to bring the cushions down there. So the next day, I went down there, and the lady showed up with her van and just gave me the cushions. She wasn't rude, didn't demand the couch back, didn't want any money for it. She just gave me the cushions. At that time, I didn't have hardly no money at that moment, and I was just, I was so excited. We ended up, we were just doing yard sales at our house. We put the living room set out in a yard sale, and we sold it for $550. So we went from a complete loss, having to go to the dump, to $550 sell. So turned out really good on that one, but a lot of times I've been on some other ones where the cushions weren't there and we just have to throw them away. So definitely couches without cushions when they're really nice, that definitely stinks. Number 8. All right, this one's pretty gross. You might think it should be higher up on the list, but it is bottles of urine. People will pee in bottles and then put them in the unit. I guess, if they're living in the unit, if they're working in the unit, there's some guys that do this. They just take a bottle places with them, and instead of going and finding a bathroom, they just pee in a bottle and leave it there. And you could usually kind of tell, it's like this person was kind of living in here or whatever, and then you'd see the bottles, like an old Coke bottle, but it wasn't Coke or a water bottle, it was urine. And the only good thing about that is it's usually sealed up so you don't have to touch it, but even touching the bottle is kind of gross, because you're like, man, I bet you they didn't get it all right down the hole. Some of it had to get on the edge, so you usually find some gloves or something to touch it and get rid of it. But another funny story with that is I took this lady that used to work for me, kind of like Ann does, and would go pick up units with me, and she loved to smell everything. And as soon as we got there, when I bit on the unit, I saw the bottles. When we got there, I told her, I was like immediately, that's urine right there. Don't touch that. You know, I'll get that. And all of a sudden I hear, ugh! And she had opened the top. She didn't believe me. She was like, I guess in her mind's like, why would somebody pee in a ball? She didn't believe me. So she opened this lid up. This thing had been sitting in a hot unit, you know, it was an outside unit for who knows how long, months, years even, and took a big whiff of it and about passed out. And you know that stuff was just locked up in there just waiting to come out, and man, she took that whiff and, you know, luckily she didn't pass out or just get so grossed out, just throw it and it go all over the place. But I tried to warn her. She didn't listen to me, but she definitely learned a lesson. And after that, if it looked like urine, she did not open it. It was definitely a lesson for her. All right, that was number 8. So number 7. All right, chest freezers. And chest freezers are awesome. Chest freezers are such an easy sell. I love getting chest freezers. But chest freezers, where when you open it up, they left a bunch of old meat in there, and it's full. You'll have like, you know, like this much in the bottom of just liquid, and it's a combination of water where the ice has melted, juice from the meat or whatever's in there, but you see some old meat packages floating in there and some bones and carcasses, and then just this nasty, dirty looking liquid in the bottom. And that's another thing, it'll smell so bad it about knocks you out. But anytime you get a freezer where they just left some food in there and it's been sitting in a hot unit, but it's all sealed up. So as soon as you open that thing up, it's like, I mean, it'll hit you like a ton of bricks right in the face. So chest freezers, and those are usually worse. The refrigerators and stuff, for some reason, to me, haven't been as bad. But when you get a dirty chest freezer, because it's all just sitting in the bottom, just floating in some kind of liquid concoction, it's pretty gross. All right, so next one on the list, we're going down to number 6. All right, this was a very specific one that happened to me. I bought this unit at this location. Turned out they were this is one of the only places that I've ever known that they were setting units up. Every unit they had there, they were setting up. And to this day, when they have an auction, the units still look exactly the same. Everything is just lined up around the edge. Now, people have units like that, but not when you have 10 units for sale and every single one of them is stuff just lined up around the edge, all nice and neat with the fronts of the boxes facing out and everything. But the one I got, it ended up having some aquariums in it, like aquariums or terrariums, you know, big glass thing you would either put fish in, or you might put lizards or frogs or something in. So there was some of those in there. So I won the unit and I go back to get it, and I'm sitting there, I'm looking at this aquarium, and at first I couldn't tell. I'm like, what is in this aquarium? On the top of the aquarium, there's like a mesh lid, and there's a big old Folgers coffee can full of nails, so it's pretty heavy. It's sitting on the top. Inside this aquarium, there's all this like tangled up mess, but I'm looking like, you know, what is it? And there's this kind of dry, flaky stuff, you know, on these long pieces that are all tangled up. And I'm looking and I'm looking and I'm looking, and finally I realize, I'm like, those are snakes. Those are like dead snakes. I can see the skeleton, and then there's like the dead flesh and skin is just kind of flaky all over it. So, but they're all, you can tell it was multiple. At least 2. I don't know how many more, but there was definitely multiple, and they were all tangled up in this big ball. So I'm like, these snakes were alive when they put them in there. That's why they put the can of nails on top to hold the lid on. And what I'm thinking happened is these things eventually got hungry, and they were, you know, trying to eat each other, because they were all tangled up in a big ball. It's like a big knot. And so then for the rest of the time when I was cleaning up this unit, I was like, well, I don't know, did they put some in here that got out, you know, from another cage or something? I don't know. So every time I'm like going to a box, I'm like flipping it open, like flipping up and jumping back to look in there, or moving something to the side and kind of looking back and making sure, you know, there wasn't one in there. So it definitely had me on edge the rest of the time. But so that was definitely not fun to find. Kind of interesting. So dead snakes in an aquarium. I've never found any live snakes. I know other people that have, but I never found any live ones. I've had a few other cages where I've found dead ones, but that was the only time where they were all wrapped up like that and everything. All right, next on the list, number 5. All right, Number 5, it's a general one, but I got a specific story about that, and that's nasty mattresses, and specifically the big, heavy, like a huge king-size mattress when it's dirty and filthy, because the dirtier it is, the heavier it is. And a king-size will flop. It's really dirty, so it flops over on you. And then you want to make that even worse, and then you take a California king-size bed that's nasty. So this happened, me and Leah, we went to load this unit. This unit ended up being actually really, really good. It was a former NBA player's unit. I did a video on it. Dude made millions of dollars, but his stuff ended up in storage. So there's this California king. It was huge. Inside facility. So it wasn't up the elevator, but it was way in the back of the building. Probably about 100-yard walk down the hallways to get it out. So me and her, we're pushing this thing, and it's flopping everywhere. We're trying not to let it flop over us because it's nasty. This huge California king. I mean, out of breath, just sweating, worn out. This thing is just like, you know, it's like fighting a giant wet noodle and you're trying not to have it touch you. We get it all the way up to the front to where the little lobby is, where you're going out the door, the elevators are, and the truck's parked out there. So in the where the storage units are and everything, the floor is all smooth. So we were just able to slide it on that floor. Then we were going to have to get out there on the rough concrete, you know, a good ways, and then go up the ramp into the truck. So I'm like, man, I don't know how we're going to do this. But, you know, Leah, she's she's pretty small, and, you know, she just physically can't lift something that heavy. You know, I could barely move it. And, you know, she was doing the best she could, but, you know, it was going to be very, very tough. But this couple was out there, and they're like, hey, you know, do y'all need some help? And we're like, yeah. And then, you know, it's kind of embarrassing as they're looking at this mattress, and you have to tell them, it's like, yeah, this isn't ours. We actually clean out storage units. And, oh, yeah, that's cool and everything. So they start to help. The girl stands over, she's talking to Leah, and the guy starts to help me, and he grabs one side of the mattress, starts pulling backwards, and then I'm pushing. We're going along. He trips and falls like backwards onto his butt, and I'm pushing forward. So he falls down, and the whole mattress just falls on top of him. He's like under this dirty mattress. And these people, they just showed up to do their own thing. They didn't have to do it or whatever. But I'm like, oh my goodness, can I get up? And he pops back up, but he's all smiling and everything, and didn't get mad and everything. He was just smiling and nice and everything. Gets back up, and we pull it onto the truck, and we were all good to go. But I mean, thank God that they were nice and stuff. And his girlfriend or wife or whatever, she was cracking up, laughing at him and everything. And, you know, but he just popped up, smiling, never, you know, I was like, oh, this guy's going to be like, you know, I'm not touching this thing anymore, whatever. But so that was good on them. I don't know who those people are. Never saw them again, but, you know, they were definitely nice and saved us on that one. But that mattress, man, it was brutal. All right, next up, we're down to number 4 there. Number 4 on the list. We're getting close to number 1. So number 4, and this is a general one. I've found so much of this stuff, and it can be really nasty when it catches you by surprise. Used sex toys. And that's typically toys that women use. And they will hide them all over the place in drawers and stuff. You'll be going through thinking you're just getting some, you know, nice clean clothes. You're getting them out. All of a sudden you'll grab something, and it's like, it's gross, you know, like, because sometimes you just touch it by accident and it's disgusting. And then sometimes it'll be all wrapped up in something you can tell before you get to it what it is, but it's always gross, especially when you touch it by accident, and because you're just, you know, it's one of those things you don't know where it's been, but you do know where it's been. You don't know where, but you do, and it's pretty gross. All right, next one is number 3. Number 3, I found this a few times. People will put a lot of dirty clothes in units, like they get into a hurry. Sorry, I'm dropping my list here. They will get into a hurry, like they're, you get a lot of eviction units, you can tell they're literally just in there just picking stuff up off the floor, throwing it into bags. They will make sheet bags, you know, throw everything into a sheet and form a bag out of it. So sometimes they can be pretty unorganized and messy at times. And so they will just pick up dirty clothes off the floor. They'll put the whole dirty hamper in there. So the thing that is just nasty about that, because stuff gets mixed together, you're going through and you'll find dirty stuff all of a sudden with some clean stuff, is crusty underwear. It's disgusting. A piece, you know, you're going, and then you see these underwear, and they're like in an awkward shape. They're not, you know, normally it's a fabric and it just falls, you know, naturally. It'll be in a weird shape and it doesn't move. It's just stiff. And you're looking at it like, it's just disgusting. You can see something on it. They look nasty. And they're just like, you know, they're just stiff and hard and crusty. That's pretty disgusting. But I've found those a few times. It's nasty. Try to avoid it, but you can't avoid all this stuff. You never know. All right, next on the list, where are we at here? Where are we at? I don't know where we're at. That was number 3. So now we're going to number 2. Number 2. All right, number 2. This one is really gross. It's one of my least favorite. I've run into it a few times. All right, you will find rats in units. You will find rat droppings in units. That's pretty common. You know, you just got to deal with it. But the thing about that's the nastiest that I hate is when, I guess if it's been recently since there was a live rat in it, is when you have wet rat urine. So you touch something and you feel something wet on your hand, and then you look and you can see that it's so nasty. I mean, obviously, that's gross because there's diseases and stuff that can come with rats and stuff. But obviously, just keep your hands away from your face and stuff. But every now and then, it just you don't see it coming. All of a sudden, you're like, "What did I just touch?" And you look and you see, and it's like, and that is just disgusting to have wet rat urine on your hand or on your arm or something. Really, really gross. And yeah, definitely. When I'm bidding in person, unfortunately now they're all online, and I can smell. There's a distinct smell. I can smell it. I don't care if I see some really good stuff. I can't do it because I bought so many of them that had the wet rat urine, and it's just disgusting. It just makes you want to just throw everything away, and it's nasty. All right, number 1. This is my worst thing that I've ever gotten in a storage unit. We bought this unit. It was a really, really, really good unit. Tons and tons of brand new stuff. This was one of those. The lady was a shopaholic, loaded down, brand new merchandise, name brands. It was awesome. Didn't pay a whole lot for it. Awesome, awesome unit. We're loading, pretty organized, clean and everything. And we loaded everything up. We went through a lot of stuff. Obviously, there at the unit, we were opening boxes, we were filming and everything. And so after we loaded everything up and we got it back to the store, when we got to the back of the unit, like I said, everything was clean and most everything was new, but every now and then you'd get a little bit of a whiff of something that stunk, and didn't really know what it was because everything looked clean. Everything looked new. I mean, it was organized. There wasn't, just didn't really make a whole lot of sense, but just kind of kept getting a little bit of whiff every now and then, but you couldn't quite pinpoint where it was coming from. But got it all back to the store, back in the back, going through everything, and there is an orange Home Depot bucket. The big 5-gallon bucket, they're like this tall, like you'd get a big 5-gallon bucket of paint, the biggest bucket of paint you can get. But Home Depot and Lowe's, they all sell their own, but Home Depot has a big orange bucket. You can just buy just the bucket by itself, and it has a lid that goes on it, and the lid kind of clamps down on it, that kind of seals up. And there was a couple of those in there. So there's one of them, and it's got something in it. It has some weight to it. It's not empty. I'm going through stuff out there, and so I'm starting to open this bucket, and I pull the lid off of this thing, and it takes me a second. I pull it off, and I'm looking down in there, and I'm like, what in the world is down there? There's some kind of liquid down there. Then I'm looking like this. They were using this thing as a toilet. So there's liquid in there, but there's, human feces in there, and it's just disgusting. And then it took a second I guess, as I'm looking stuff, I guess I didn't take a deep breath. And then when I took that breath, it was like, about just wanting to throw up. It stunk so bad. It was awful. But I'm like, oh, I took the thing and I took it out to the dumpster. I'm holding my breath, and I took it out the dumpster. I'm like, I can't even leave this in here. I took it back and threw it in the dumpster, and went to go wash my hands. I'm washing my arms with soap all the way up to my elbows. I'm washing, and the whole back room after I did all that, took it to the dumpster and went and washed my hands. The whole back room, you went back there, and it smelled just like that bucket was right in front of your face. It stunk it up so bad. And it actually, apparently, all the way to the front, which is a pretty big store. It's 18,000 square foot. It's a long ways to the front. It stunk the whole store up because they could smell it out there, and they were like, yeah, well, you can even want to come back there. We didn't know what you had found back there, but you stunk the whole store up. It took a long time for that back room to finally air out, but it was disgusting. It was just, somebody's toilet, but it was sealed up. So most of the smell was staying in there. Like I said, every now and then a little whiff would come out. But man, when that thing opened up, it was so disgusting. And I'm just looking at it. It took me like a second or two. I'm looking because I'm like, what the heck? And then I could see what was in there. You know, I could see there was like some pieces of toilet paper and stuff in there, and it was, man, that was gross. So now every time we see one of them orange Home Depot buckets in a unit, we make jokes about it and stuff. So if you ever hear us saying something about the orange bucket, that's what we're talking about, is the human feces, the toilet. I guess this lady, when she went to her unit, she took that bucket with her and used it as a toilet. I don't know. It was really weird because, like I said, the unit was clean, the unit was nice, brand new stuff, super organized, but they were using that bucket as a toilet. So that was my number one worst thing that I have ever found, the toilet in a bucket. Lots of nasty stuff. That one just sticks out for sure. There's probably some other stuff that could make this top 10 list that if I thought about it and it popped up, I'd be like, yeah, that's pretty bad. But obviously that bucket I will never forget. The snakes in the aquarium I'll never forget, and a few of the others. But that's it. The top 10 worst things that I have ever found buying storage units. So let me know what you think in the comments. Let me know if you've bought units, if you've gotten anything that's, you know, that's similar to what I got. If you think you got something that's worse than what I've gotten, let us know. That's it for this one. Y'all have a good one. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. See you on the next one.